What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is February 3rd of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a great Sunday wherever you are, and more specifically, if you live in Canada or the US like myself, I hope you're finding a way to stay warm. The temperature has been brutal here, and because of it, my nose is stuffed up as usual. But I'm hoping to combat it with a nice warm cup of coffee as we jump into this daily update. So kick back, relax, we've got some awesome things to talk about, and let's jump right into the update. Now, I want to let you all know the video is sponsored by Yellow. This is a new up-and-coming YouTube channel created by a bunch of guys that I know back from Chiang Mai in Thailand. They're not only producing a lot of awesome content, but they've actually got a podcast interview that they are going to be uploading over the next day or so. So if you guys want to stay tuned for that, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out some of their other works as well. They're a bunch of awesome guys, and they've got some really cool content. I like their style personally. So, going into the cryptocurrency market analysis, we can see over the past 7 days, most cryptocurrencies are still in the red following Bitcoin. Over the past 24 hours, we can see, though, that BitTorrent has been killing it. A lot of excitement coming in on this play. A lot of volume coming in as well in this market. Of course, mostly being traded on Binance. You're going to get a lot of nice organic volume in that case, and a lot of algorithms trading as well. But nonetheless, more legitimate volume coming in. They're really one of the few rare ones in this market. Most cryptocurrencies are relatively lacking in volatility, and this has been playing into the broader trend we've been seeing in markets as we slowly grind down towards the same lows that we saw back at 100 billion. As we can see, volatility is low right here. And Bitcoin dominance really unchanged here. But again, not making new highs here on Bitcoin dominance. We're making lower highs every time. And this is signaling that we might potentially get a rebound here soon. We're going to be looking for Bitcoin to hold at 3,000 more than anything. So that's my philosophy right now. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to slowly go down, hopefully touch 3,000 in this case, and it might drag altcoins down temporarily back down to some of their lows as well for Ethereum, Litecoin, and some of the major plays. But right now, I'm currently looking at potential opportunities for a double bottom in markets. If we do get that sign of a double bottom in Bitcoin at around 3,000 or 3,200 in this case, which isn't that far away, could we see Bitcoin dominance start to deplete and altcoins start to gain some traction in the market? I really think it could be, because we've been seeing a growing trend here in altcoin dominance ever since back here in September. And as we see historically, this is the same exact pattern every single time, where we tend to see Bitcoin dominance starting to stagnate and then have strong depletions. So with markets down low like this, where could we spot some opportunity? Well, the big one I'm watching right now is Grin. With the volume that we're seeing on Grin, I'm very excited here, and not to mention with potential extra listings that might come with the market cap that it has right now. It definitely could have some room to move up. Not to mention, it started to reduce quite heavily from its highs, from around $14 to $15 all the way down to about $5.50 right now on price. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. I don't have any accounts with the exchanges that are listed with it, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on potentially getting a Hotbit exchange or something like that to potentially just speculate a little bit. If not, might start mining some of it. I don't know. But I think Grin actually only has a Linux miner, which kind of sucks. That's one of the benefits that Beam has right now, is that they have a built-in wallet miner for Windows and I think Mac OS as well. Could be wrong on that. Anyways, let's go ahead here, guys. Again, keep an eye on Grin. I think Grin's a good one to watch. The BitTorrent token is probably going to have a lot of speculation behind it as well. These are really some candidates that I could see, as well as Beam, being really big growers in regards to gaining an altcoin dominance in the market if we start to get a little bit of an altcoin rally over the next few weeks. Going on here, though, let's go ahead and talk about QuadrigaCX. Now, QuadrigaCX is either the largest or one of the largest Canadian exchanges in regards to the amount of funds that are managed and or volume that's processed. And there's been a really big piece of news that's come out that came out practically yesterday, talking about how Quadriga may have potentially lost over anywhere from 145 to 190 million. The headlines kind of vary. 145 to 190 million dollars in cryptocurrency funds. Now, there's been a lot of FUD in the headlines that have pretty much said that this is they've been hacked, that there's been I think most people have kind of got caught onto this by now and stuff, that there's been this overall FUD attached to a lot of the headlines because it grabs people's attention. But nonetheless, even though there was no hack, there was no tampering in any way in that regard, it is simply just a case of poor custodial management. And a really sad piece of news as well. Basically, the QuadrigaCX exchange CEO was basically the sole manager of custodial funds here. So he basically was keeping all of the private keys and the information in regards to managing these cryptocurrencies on a laptop, keeping everything encrypted all by himself. So we've heard a lot about the disastrous mistakes of exchanges. CoinCheck, for example, back in Japan, keeping NIM open on a hot wallet, for example, and that's how they led to a multi-$100 million hack. We've heard about a variety of exchanges making those same mistakes, not using cold storage, keeping things on hot wallets. But more than anything, I think this really has to take the cake. Having one person managing the funds of an entire exchange, and not just about $1 million or $2 million for the funds, $190 million. So this was the case here. The founder had died in India back during December due to Crohn's disease. Very sad story in this case, but it left to a very pickly situation in this case. How are they going to get access to the funds if he had sole authority over them and sole access to the private keys? Now, what is nice is that supposedly they've actually gone through the process of trying to get someone to break through the encryption and actually try to get access to these funds. However, one thing I love about this article, I usually don't like when sometimes they don't always put out relevant tweets, but this was a really good tweet to bring up, and actually from someone I think that we all know, CZ, obviously, saying that it was really sad that this news came out, and in a sense kind of sad in the sense of standards that QuadrigaCX was using for its custody, because there are many ways where you can have, for example, private keys or split private keys, where you can have a 3-to-5 ratio, where 3 out of 5 people have to basically sign a go for accessing the funds, and then they can gain access to it, or 5 out of 7. So if someone were to pass away or lose their access to the private keys, it wouldn't be a doomsday scenario. It wouldn't be the end of the world. You would need like the whole entire team or managers to completely disappear off the face of the earth. So there's a lot of fine custodial solutions that are coming out right now for crypto, and so many of these exchanges don't have it implemented. So the thing that I worry about, and this is why I can understand almost the cult-like mentality of not your keys, not your funds in this case. What other exchanges are not following good practices in the industry? How much millions of dollars, if not billions of crypto is currently at stake at poorly managed exchanges? That's what I really worry about here. It's not just a problem of hackers, but it's a worry of mismanagement from the team themselves, from people who may not know how to properly store cryptocurrencies. So again, really, really important lesson here to understand that the exchange that you use is someone that, for example, has properly managed funds for the past, few years. Like Coinbase, for example, got to give credit Coinbase. Coinbase has always consistently managed funds well, and that's why a lot of people trust it. And that's the same with Gemini. They just did a recent ad campaign where basically the major thing that they promoted was safety over funds, right? That's the biggest worry that they said consumers had, was management of funds, because they see all these headlines like Quadriga's mismanagement of funds as well. So I hope everything works out. Best of luck in getting access to those funds, guys. But it really sucks how they came out with this all the way in February, because this news was as old as December. So hopefully they'll figure things out in that case. But again, just very poor business practices. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some positive news in the crypto space. Wyoming has just recently passed a bill recognizing cryptocurrency. Oh, I got a Java update. Wyoming has recently passed an update recognizing cryptocurrencies as money. Now, I really like this bill, as simple as it is, because it again continues to show me that Wyoming is a state that's going to be developing a really positive legal framework for cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency startups. I've actually considered, I'm going to be moving probably the next year or two, and I've looked at Wyoming as a potential place to go to, because I love what they're doing at the moment. But in regards to the law, what does it really entail here, the bill that was recently passed? So this was something that's been talked about for a little while right now, but basically the bill would place cryptocurrency assets into 3 different classes: digital consumer assets, digital securities, so more specifically, digital equity in some kind of platform or company, and virtual currencies. So this would be peer-to-peer digital currency, supposed to be an alternative to fiat currency. So any digital assets that fall into these 3 categories will be defined as intangible personal property. So again, kind of fitting into the eyes of how the IRS defines cryptocurrencies, granting virtual currencies the same treatment as fiat money. So this is really exciting stuff, guys. It also allows for banks to propose custodial solutions and management of these funds in Wyoming in this case. So again, bringing more of a mature framework to cryptocurrencies. And I like to see this equal balance in a major, Wyoming's not a major state in the United States, but it is definitely becoming one of the major blockchain states, and with an area where it's not too expensive to build business. There's a lot of open land, and a state that's eager, much like how small nation states or island states like Malta want to stand out. I'm really excited to see that Wyoming's taking this direction, and I want to continue to see more positive stuff coming out of it. So definitely keep an eye on this. Definitely look into it if you get the chance, guys. really good piece of news coming out of Wyoming here. Now, in regards to traditional markets, we got to talk about the broader trend in equities. So it's Sunday right now, guys. It's a casual Sunday. It's quiet. Obviously, markets are closed. But we got to talk about the potential bull trap that we're in right now. Sorry, guys, my notes stuffed up. But this is obviously an opinion piece that I found on MarketWatch, but I really, really like the overview of what they provided here in the piece here. Now, this is a really good document or photo here from NorthamTrader.com, pretty popular trading site. But you can see here how they compile a lot of major indicators for whether or not we're towards the end or beginning of a cycle. You can see here that we have a lot of repeating patterns, and I'll go ahead and go through all of these major aspects here. So first off, you've got the RSI here on the monthly, and we see a repeated pattern where, for example, in a bull trap, and a bull trap, for those who don't know, is basically when you have a major sell-off in price and then a rebound, giving people the euphoric feeling that, okay, the fear is gone, we're going back to the highs, we're continuing the trend. Well, in reality, we tend to see the RSI test the mid-range here around the 50-point range. And we've seen the exact same system where we've rebounded back above the RSI here. And also a sloping end as well on the RSI beforehand, as we start to see less buying pressure on the monthly in this case, as we start to get more stagnant towards the highs here. As you can see, the pace of buy-side activity slows down towards the end, and then we have these bull traps. Second off, not only that, we've broken through the major trend line from the lows here. We see that this is usually a sign that we're going to be entering into a recession over the longer term. But outside of that, I love the mixture of indicators he has done here. The MACD on the monthly, breaking down just like we've seen the two previous times in the past two recessions. The other index that a lot of people don't use, and in fact, it's almost seen as a positive thing, because it is. It's good to see unemployment low. But unemployment is a great indicator. When you start to see the unemployment rate going down to new lows in this case, it tends to signal that you're on the peak of a recession. It's very sad, but it tends to go that when the going gets good for average everyday people, recession is right around the corner. That's how the market has worked, because this market, the system that we live in, fuels assets. It doesn't give a damn about the real economy. It doesn't give a damn about fundamentals. Not to mention, I have no doubt that for the past few decades, the unemployment number has gotten more and more manipulated. But again, this is not a good sign in this case, especially in the fact if we're considering that it has been suppressed down like this. Along with this, they have a mixture in regards to the indicators that they have of the 10-year Treasury yield. And we can see here again with the slope here, this is not a good sign when we start to see a lack of growth in the 10-year like we've had over the past few months, starting to see a downward trend in this case. And this whole mixture here is a very good summary here, guys. Again, I think a lot of people, I think there was one or two comments. I usually don't get caught up in the comments, but I do try to listen to you guys because I think criticism is always important. A lot of people were saying, for example, that I've been bearish since 2018, but in January, we had a huge pop up and it's been doing great in equities. And that's true. We talked about it actually in my newsletter, where we were discussing how if for example, we were able to get over a specific level on the newsletter, I think it was around it was like something like in the low 7,000 or upper 600 point or 6,000 point range on the NASDAQ, we would continue and there would be some euphoria in January. We'd have a bull trap building, but we're still hitting the same resistance. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that in a moment here in regards to the chart. Actually, I'll just pull it up here real quick. We're going to be talking about cannabis stocks as well, but I forgot to bring up a chart of the NASDAQ here. We can see as we draw the line of resistance here, we are still getting weighed down by this line of resistance. I'll even move a little bit lower. So in this case, we're riding up right against it, and we're going to need to see a pop-up up there. However, the RSI is extremely overbought, and this has just been a major rally, guys, over the past month. I just don't see if we have the fuel to continue this up, not to mention all of the factors that kept this up, the redistribution of pension funds, the increase in the central bank balance sheet, the Fed not raising rates. I mean, you can't do too much more to keep this up. And this tells me that, this buying pressure and stuff only came in because of those factors. What happens when you can't keep fueling the fire, when you can't keep tossing in new things to get excited about that would prop up equities? And that's what I see as an issue here. Not to mention, on LMTR here, they've got a really nice index on sentiment, and it shows that we're right back almost to where we were back in 2018. So again, repeating history, potentially setting up for a big sell-off here. So anyways, that's my general review over equity markets at the moment. That's my general sentiment. I think the one index you want to watch here is the NASDAQ. Guys, don't worry about the S&P 500. Don't worry about the Dow Jones. The NASDAQ is really what's telling here, because the NASDAQ has played a major role in this upside action. It's very similar to the activity we saw in the dot-com bubble, in the sense of the FANG stocks just killing it over the past few years. Now, I want to spend some time to talk about more speculation in the market, and that has to do with cannabis stocks. So as we take a look here at some of these major cannabis stocks, I know many people talk about Cannabis Growth Corp, and we can see here, for example, we're almost testing back up to the highs. The rally we've had throughout January has been a really intense rally, not to mention followed by some good volume here. I'll give it that. But we've also had a new player come into the scene, really taking over the headlines, and that is Cronos. Now, Cronos got a huge stake acquisition from one of the major tobacco companies, and because of that, I think this has really led to it breaking out of its longer-term channel, which was already quite bullish, but is now starting to get really picked up to the upside here with a rising level of volume. Now, I know a lot of people tend to want to speculate here, catch the trend, and ride with it. But I got to tell you all, we're getting to the point, much like we did with Bitcoin, and pretty much you can get this in any speculative market, where you start to get really parabolic price action. Now, I wouldn't recommend you guys to go short or anything. You guys got to determine stuff for yourself. It's not financial advice. But I am definitely considering looking, if this continues to go more parabolic over the next few days or so, looking at some puts, to really play this short in this case. Not only that, but also just, looking for this to potentially have a nice correction in the next few days or weeks. But again, it's kind of like catching a falling knife. It's vice versa. You don't want to try to short something that's skyrocketing at the moment. So you want to wait until you have a good candle pattern that really signifies that. Now, in the broader sense of things, kind of comparing Cronos, a lot of people have asked me what I think about it. Cronos is, there's two benefits. So there's a benefit and there's a negative. One benefit is that Cronos is much less highly valued. It's much less valued than Canopy Growth Corporation, as well as Aurora Cannabis. They're like past $5 billion in valuation. I think Canopy Growth Corp is much higher, but Aurora Cannabis is like $6 billion. With Cronos, from the resources that I've looked at, they're less than like $2 or $3 billion in this case. So it's a very low valued cannabis company comparative to the others. Now, on the books, it is probably just as ridiculously valued as others. However, guys, you can tell that this is not a market of fundamentals in this case, right? So, again, very important thing to keep in mind. It's a wave of speculation. Now, here's what I'd say matters more than anything, and that is the global cannabis stock index here. We've been having a rally here because of these two plays, as well as a few other cannabis stocks. But the major thing I'm looking for here is for the index to cap out at 100 here, really continuing to play in with this downtrend line here. Again, around the big even of 100 here would be most likely, as we stopped out here at around 125 last time. So we got a little bit more, I think, to go here. I think it's going to be mostly fueled by the two stocks we just talked about. But after that, I'm definitely going to be taking a short tone here, because we have not reached a full bottom here in the cannabis market. I think we need to come down or retest down towards these lows a few times, and then from there going into 2020, that's when I'm really going to get bullish on cannabis stocks, when there's potential for more countries or more states, predominantly in the United States, to continue the legalization trend. So again, at the moment, keep impatient here, looking for potential short position on some of these. But I'd like to know what you guys think about this. What do you all think about the current cannabis trend right now? Are you guys currently investing in any cannabis stocks? And why are you picking some over the others? I think that's a big question that I'd like to get an answer to for a lot of people. Why did they prefer one cannabis stock over another, outside of just pure speculation, or I like the chart better than the other? And outside of that, what other things do you guys have to say about the other topics we talked about? We've got lots of things that we discussed today. Love to hear from you guys down in the comments down below. But outside of that, that'll be it for the video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of the Sunday. And please stay warm if you can. Or if you're in Australia and different parts of the world, stay cold, because it is burning hot in other regions of the world. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.